You work within your time. When you over exceed your time, your marks might be deducted. So with that in mind, let's begin by hearing from the proposing side, who will argue in favor of making coding and AI compulsory in Nigerian schools. Can we please have the first speaker from the
Hold on first. Call the motions out again so that the judges will hear the motions, and let's know the proposal and opposing side. Call it introduce that thing again, because we have 3 judges online that is not here with us. We have George. We have Adabe Godman from. We have Ebuka Emmanuel, and we have Silas Oke from Enugu. Ebuka Emmanuel is in Abuja, while Adabe Godman is from Osun State. So, no, Ekiti Abi. Adabe, where are you from? Adabe?
Ondo State.
Okay, Ondo State. Okay,
Sir.
so they will act as an online judge also. So please introduce the motion again, please, and who's opposing and who's opposing, so they can take notes.
Okay, sorry, please. Who is proposing? Is it Enugu, Anambra or Enugu?
Team Anambra will be proposing.
Okay, so the motion before the House is this House would make coding and artificial intelligence compulsory subjects in Nigeria. And this motion asks us to consider whether introducing coding and AI as a mandatory part of Nigeria's education system would be beneficial to the country's future socially, economically, and technologically, or whether it would create more challenges than it solves. So I, the moderator, my role is to ensure that this discussion remains balanced, respectful, and focused on the topics. So everyone should mind their languages and be respectful to the other side of the team. So do we have both sides ready, proposition and opposition? If we do, please, let's begin. Let's start with first speaker from the proposition. Remember, 6 minutes and try to work within your time frame. Mr. Joseph, can we start?
Go ahead, start the debate.
Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coding and artificial intelligence are no longer options. They are tools for survival in a rapidly developing world that waits for nobody to keep up. To disregard such topics is to disregard growth. And if Nigeria continues to do this, it will forever remain stagnant. Catherine, lead speaker, proposition. What is coding? Coding is the back end of developing software, which enables us to understand how it's built. In other words, it's the behind the scenes action that accompanies digital infrastructure. What is AI? AI is the science of making machines intelligent, teaching them to learn, adapt, and make decisions the way humans would, but on a much greater scale. Compulsory subjects are those subjects that are indispensable and essential to daily living. Coding and AI are the foundations that make up the baseline of 21st century activities, and making them compulsory serves to acknowledge their active participation in today's world. Because whether we would like to accept it or not, the world is moving forward, and AI is penetrating in all the businesses of life, not just banking and finance, but medicine, law, art, design. Opposition may say that AI is taking away the jobs of people, but we believe that AI is not taking away the jobs of people. It's taking away the jobs of people who don't know how to use AI to make jobs faster, easier, and more accessible, which is all the more reason why we must uphold this stance. We acknowledge the presence of digital processing and computer studies within the Nigerian curriculum. While they're good enough, they serve to only introduce children, which is actually not enough. Digital processing is no longer valid, and we cannot continue to teach our students obsolete languages like SQL and query. The world is so fast-paced that we must implement an undeniable significance where coding and AI is concerned. How do we do this? The government can free up funds from the bogus system of the Nigerian governmental cost, which is extremely high due to the number of real politicians looting this country dry. In fact, even if the government has to borrow, we must do so to implement this course of action. And as for a lack of experts, the government already organizes teacher training programs to update their skills and thereby develop Nigeria's curriculum, making a broader impact on Nigeria's progress as a whole. I'll state my 3 substantive points. Firstly, I'll explain to you how as new jobs are opening, doors are closing. Second, I'll explain how Nigeria is trailing behind. And finally, I'll elaborate on how understanding AI and coding technology actually equips one against 21st century crime. My second speaker will focus on how AI and coding must be compulsory, and my third speaker will follow up on that. As new jobs are opening, doors are closing. Now, Nigeria produces thousands of graduates yearly, but only a small fraction know digital skills. In a nation where over 30 to 45% of jobs will require digital skills by 2030. Our youth is brilliant, but without knowledge in digital skills, their brilliance becomes unemployed brilliance. Even some schools are taking matters into their own hands by adopting AI and coding education. For example, Nigeria took the crown in the World Affairs Challenge of 2023 and the Diamond Challenge of 2025. Now, for these victories to have been made, these children must find external knowledge where coding and AI are concerned. Without the implementation of this motion, the very idea of school itself becomes deception. Panel, how can a child go through over 6 years of suffering in school, taking tests, writing exams, and learning lessons, only for them to come out and realize that their job of choice is being operated by AI? It is wrong for the government to make children have such a bleak future. The Nigerian curriculum has already adapted to teaching about trends and tipping points. For example, when the government realized that more white-collar jobs were coming into existence, it decided to introduce trade subjects like fair nutrition and agriculture so that children will not be left out in the curriculum game. The government should do the same with AI coding technology because more AI-operated jobs are coming into the scene. The school is the baseline for the labor force, and if the schools are preparing you for that, then the entire point becomes useless. Secondly, AI is trailing behind. To say that Nigeria has lost out in the understatement. Why do we say this? Because Nigeria and the rest of the world are not on the same page of development. A real-life example of this is the computer revolution, where Nigeria just sat back and watched. And what is the result? Now, we beg Facebook and other technological companies to set up in Nigeria just so we can collect tax, when we should be another foreigner in the game. Nigeria still continues to sit back and watch as India and South Africa lead in African tech exports and AI policy. Panel, would you like to know the worst parts? According to the National Telecommunications Union, up to 72% of Nigerians now have access to digital technology, which means we are deliberately pushing ourselves behind. It's not that we lack access, it's that we lack action. And in a world where coding and AI are becoming a national accepted necessity, this situation becomes dire. Finally, understanding AI equips one against the 21st century crime. Now, opposition team may say that people are misusing AI to create AI-generated pictures, engage in exam malpractice, and commit online fraud. But we say this, the solution to this is not shielding or hiding people against AI. It's teaching them to understand how the digital platforms work, and how these coding systems operate, so that we will be able to detect a plagiarized piece, recognize AI-generated images, and also know what a fake website looks like. We need to ensure that people are able to build fences against these 21st century crimes, which is why we say, when the world is moving with technology and Nigeria is standing still, Nigeria is not just being left out, Nigeria is being left behind. AI coding education is not luxury, it is survival.
Okay. She used a total of 6 minutes, 18 seconds. Thank you for your opening presentation. That was wonderful. Can we have our first speaker from proposition, please? First speaker from opposition. The time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Consider the fact that AI and coding is very important and impactful to the future in terms of skills and human development. On contextualization, we are in the 21st century where AI rules the world. But the panel, the problem we have is making this compulsory because it is bad for the stakeholders. Good morning, my panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, my moderator, co-debaters, and my distinguished audience. My name is Colin Scaler, and I am the lead speaker for Team Enugu. Today, I am going to be doing the job distribution. I am going to set the ground for my team, and I'm going to be showing you the non-workability positions more. First, making this compulsory means it becomes part of the curriculum, right? Yes. And then this is where the biggest problem lies. Under education, we have three parts. We have cognitive, psychomotive, and affective. Under cognitive involves everything happening in class. When coding becomes part of compulsory learning, this means it becomes part of all the activities of the class, which makes it part of the curriculum. The same curriculum that is already burdened by far too many activities. Now, in this curriculum, we have little or no time to carry out core parts of these activities, equating to reduction in quality of education that already affects stakeholders who are the students. Proposition might show you how coding is similarly as important as math and English, but let me show you how laughable this is. First of all, coding requires special of interest, while math and English are globally offered subjects. So panel, making this compulsory totally disregards the main purpose of this learning, which is for those students who are interested and have special skills. Students who are uninterested and do not have special skills in this may not take this learning as seriously and may fail basic exams. Our alternatives to this are, it is very important and impactful when coding is an elective course rather than compulsory. Why do we say this? We're in a world where education is improving and students are beginning to have choices. And making it elective poses way for students who have potential interest in this. Because why would we make this compulsory when there are other subjects or other skills that other students who have interest in have opportunities to learn, but there is service as elective subjects? Our second alternative is extracurricular activities such as public speaking or debate clubs. Why is it better? This is better because serving this as an extracurricular activity causes people of equal interest to be in the same environment, meaning they can move at a faster pace and it also practicals. So panel, we are going to show you how propositions world is limited in accessibility. Now let me explain something to you. What does compulsory mean? Compulsory means everybody is offering it, right? Yes. And this means regardless of infrastructure or access to any form of activities, right? Yes. This also means that it will be written in school exams, like external exams and NECO. Yes. But how is it? Third, making this compulsory means for those who can afford it. And it puts those who cannot afford it, especially those at the grassroots level, at risk. Risk of failing exams, risk of not knowing this to the full capacity. It also puts those senses at the grassroots level at risk because what if they have interest in this, but you have facilities that can access this? Proposition may also say, oh, the government may fund this. But where's the problem we have? The problem we have in this is that there are many problems that are left unsolved, projects left unfinished, public schools lacking infrastructure such as basic libraries. Even up till now, promises made by the government remain unfulfilled. And saying, oh, NGOs can help the government, this doesn't really make sense. Or NGOs may not be able to get to every school all around the world. That is our first problem. Our second problem is most NGOs, when they begin to involve themselves in these schools, they only have in mind, instead of turning it into something that helps the student, they turn it into a personal business for themselves. Now, let us talk about Nigeria's power supply. Assuming facilities are able to be given to every school all around, how about power supply? The power supply in Nigeria is particularly ineffective, and this will result to us in solar panels and inverters, right? But how about those at the grassroots level who cannot afford the solar panels and inverters? What do? Do they stay behind? Do we exclude them from this education society? Yes, I accept the POI.
Government implemented security education as a compulsory subject in junior secondary school because security was paramount. So now, does this simply mean that everyone taking these classes, because it's compulsory, wants to be in the military or require special skills in handling guns to offer this subject?
Based on your question, thank you for that question, first of all. Based on your question, security education according to Nigeria's curricula does not involve making use of guns or learning the military. That's a very different aspect, first of all. It involves teaching students about their roots and their national identity. It talks about national unity and national integration. I believe every individual needs access to their national unity and national integration based off of your question. But when it comes to coding, coding relates things that are ICT related. Because comparing security education and coding, two very unrelated topics. Coding should be made an elective. Civic education or security education is something every Nigerian needs. Now, in summary, I have showed you the non-workability of propositions world. I have given you two options for our world, which are extracurriculars and making it an elective subject. We believe that based on this, every student will be able to have access. Now, my second speaker is going to be showing you, we'll extend our case, show you the harmful analysis and show you the non-workability of propositions world. While my second supporting speaker is going to be doing comparative analysis, social impact, and stakeholder impact. Thank you.
First speaker from opposition.
Hold on. Please, Team Anambra, don't switch off your video again. If you do that, you will be penalized. Keep your video on until the end of this debate, please. All the teams, keep your video on. The two teams. If you switch it off again, you are going to be penalized. Want to watch your debaters? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that articulated response. She used a total of 6 minutes, 12 seconds. Now, can we have our second speaker from the proposition? Your time starts 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Panel. Today's debate all boils down to one simple question. Are we training students for a world that we still think exists or for a world that actually exists? Throughout the course of today's debate, Team Opposition has showed us why they believe in backward thinking. But before I address any of that, let me quickly talk about some of the claims that Team Opposition made in today's debate. Panel, in today's debate, Team Opposition claims that students will not be able to learn AI and coding simply because they do not have basic infrastructure. But let me tell you how that ideology is flawed. First off, panel, according to research, over 70% of Nigerians now have access to infrastructure, internet, computers, electricity, and so on and so forth. And panel, even if we were to agree to this ideology, panel, let me show you how that is different in our world. Panel, in our world, people are able to learn because of theory. Even if these students have access to theory, it's better off than having zero tech exposure. Panel, throughout the course of today's debate, Team Opposition also claims that they do not have trained teachers enough to be able to teach AI and coding, right? But let me show you how that is wrong. Team Opposition wants us to believe that training teachers is simply impossible. But panel, what actually exists in status quo today? In status quo, we see that the federal government is actively training teachers for both new subjects to update curriculum during summer. So what Team Opposition tells us in today's debate is totally wrong. And lastly, Team Opposition claimed in today's debate that not all children want to become tech programmers or coders. And they also claim that these children need special tech skills to be able to learn AI and coding as a subject. But Team Opposition misunderstands what AI in 2025 simply means. Panel, AI isn't only for people who want to venture into the field of technology. Right now, doctors are using AI and AI diagnosis, lawyers are using AI, even artists are using AI design tools, even farmers, they use AI to be able to track their crop production. So Team Opposition telling us that, okay, this is supposed to be left out for students with special skills. Doesn't make any sense. Let's take a quick example. English is compulsory around Nigeria, right? So just because everybody offers English doesn't mean that we want to become English teachers or English proficient English people in the future. So panel, why must we actually make AI and coding compulsory? Now, my 3 substantive points. First off, implementation of AI and coding as a solution to mass youth unemployment. Secondly, implementation of AI and coding as the only way to democratize these tech skills. And finally, national security requires compulsory implementation of these subjects. So panel, first substantive point, implementation of AI as a solution to mass youth unemployment. Panel, Team Opposition may tell us that, okay, implementation of these subjects equals academic stress and pressure on the part of these students. But let me show you how that deviates from what actually matters. Panel, what actually matters is the economic pressure that Nigeria is going to face in the long run if we do not take action now. Panel, according to research, over 40% of youth in Nigeria are unemployed. A national youth analysis shows us that by 2030, 345 million jobs will be disrupted by AI. 85 million jobs will disappear, and 97 million new jobs will come up. And these jobs require what? AI and technological skills. So let me show you what that looks like in Oxford. In Oxford, 70% of people skip learning AI and coding simply because it is optional, right? And these people, they become unemployed in the future. But what does that look like in our world? 100% of people take these classes since it is compulsory, and eventually they are able to compete on the global market workforce. And so now this shows us how team opposition wants us to take a path that is both unsustainable and economically unjust, plus morally unjust. My second substantive point: implementation of AI and coding as the only way to democratize access to these high-tech skills. So panel, team opposition may tell us that supporting compulsory implementation equals digital divide and inequality, says rich kids get better access to these skills than poor kids. But let me show you how that is totally wrong. So panel, what happens now in status quo? Panel, in status quo, rich kids that attend private schools, right, already have access to these skills. And when they have access to these skills, they get more opportunities. They are winning a lot of things from these things. But right now, poor kids have zero tech exposure. And this simply shows that team opposition supports inequality. But what changes in our world? When it comes to our world, we make AI and coding compulsory. This simply means that every child has to be able to learn these skills simply because it is compulsory. Requirement is universal, and government has to include it in budget of every single child. So what does this simply mean? In our world, poor kids get a chance to actually learn, but in Oxford, poor kids get zero tech exposure. We are reaching that inequality. My final substantive point: national security requires compulsory implementation. Panel, so let's look beyond economics and justice. What is the actual problem here? Nigeria's national security. This is what nobody really talks about. When I say security, I don't mean only military power. Security nowadays is digital. Let me actually show you what warfare in the 21st century looks like. Panel, I'm talking about cyber attacks. I'm talking about banking system being hacked. I'm talking about privacy concerns, and Nigeria has little to no knowledge in this field. So panel, what changes when it comes to team proposition's world? Millions of people become digitally literate. We are able to control our data and exclude all other external sources, and we achieve data sovereignty. So panel, let's quickly take a comparative analysis. In Oxford, people, they support the status quo, and then 20% of people are not able to get jobs in the future, while 20% are able to get jobs in the future, while 80% is left behind. But in our world, everyone is able to learn these tech skills, and then we create a universally digital literate and globally competitive workforce of millions of people. So panel, simply because of the reason that we support equity, proactive nation building, and digital independence, which leads to our overall growth, let this motion stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, second speaker from proposition, for insightful
I'm
points.
gonna hold on. Please, Anambra, next time, just that I not sit on time. Next time, we need to see all your debaters the way we are seeing Enugu team. We don't want to see only one. We need to they have to stay at the back behind your speakers. We need to see them to ensure that this is being fair and transparent. So we need to let them go to the back behind. So when you are not speaking, go to the back and stay. So want to be sure that your coaches are not helping you in this debate. Please. Good. Thank you. That's fine.
Okay. So she used a total of 5 minutes, 59 seconds. Now can we welcome our next speaker from opposition? Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Panel, coding and AI is important in our society today, but it should not be compulsory in every school. My name is Chima, and I am a representative of Team Enugu, and I do not believe that coding and AI should be compulsory subjects in the Nigerian educational system. Coding and AI can be abused, misused, and affect the cognitive, psychomotive, and affective domains of learning. It can not only affect those, but it can also affect the curriculum in different schools. How are you expected to learn different subjects if coding and AI takes up the space? How are you expected to get different skills if coding and AI is what is needed in our society today? I see coding and AI as something that can be used as a skill, an extracurricular, and an elective in schools. We need to focus on the interest of individuals, not only what they need in the future. Individuals may find interest in these subjects. That's why it should be optional, because those who do not, can gain skills that can help them in the future. Yes, coding and AI is important, but it is also addictive and can be misused in our society. There are different alternatives you can have for this. Firstly, it can be an elective. People can choose the subjects they do, and they can choose coding and AI if they are interested. And those who aren't, they can have it as an extracurricular activity or not use it at all, because different people have different futures and different jobs that they have for their future. And AI and coding might not affect those jobs in the future. Now, let's look at facilities. If we talk on facilities and infrastructure, we can look at different public schools that the government have. They've not finished other projects. What makes you think that they'll focus on public schools? Facilities like computers or boards that will help them do these subjects. What makes you think that government will be able to provide these things for the public school? Imagine a school that has only one desktop for 50 students using an AI. It doesn't make sense that only one desktop will be available for 50 students to learn this coding as a compulsory subject. What about NGOs? NGOs focus on different schools, not all, and they won't be able to provide for all these schools. They might even take over these schools, change not only the academics or infrastructure, but also the functionality of these public schools. Now, let's look at the community effect. Those who are not listened to, they are not heard, and their choices are not seen, might harm the community with AI through hacking, cheating, or copy and paste during assignments. Is this the world you want to live in? Is this the world that you want to create by achieving compulsion in coding and AI? No, because in these subjects, there needs to be optionality so that there can be security and inclusivity. Coding and AI is a subject that few can take because they have the interest and the functionality to be able to achieve what they need to do in these subjects. If it does not affect their future, they should not be forced so that it does not come to the receiving end of the community. They don't harm or bring false interest to the community because they did not get their interests or their choices were not seen. Now, is this the world you would like to create? Thank you.
Thank you very much, second speaker from opposition, for your submission. You used a total of 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Now, can we have our next speaker from proposition? Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So panel, at the end of opposition's arguments, what you basically get from them is fear and excuses. They tell us things like our policy isn't workable because they fear things like lack of infrastructure, lack of teachers, overburdened curriculum, digital divide, and all whatnot. What I will do in my speech today is to tell you why their fear won't materialize and why we win on our side because we have better benefits. Vivian, rebut speaker proposition. So panel, get this. Proposition tell us that they fear we will lack infrastructure. Their argument is a classic example of the ambition trap, where they say we cannot start because we don't have the perfect conditions. Now, if we follow their logic, Nigeria will never proceed. We did not wait for every village in Nigeria to have a library before making English language compulsory. We started, and the infrastructure followed the demand. As a matter of fact, lack of infrastructure is the reason why we should say yes and not no, because this is what will force the government and private sectors to invest in the infrastructure. It will create an urgent, non-negotiable demand for things like solar power, computer labs, internet connectivity, and all whatnot. Else, this infrastructure will never be prioritized. Why not get this? We are not saying we need a full AI scale on lab on day one. We will start with the basics, computational thinking, logic, and then simple coding. We will use low-cost solutions like Raspberry Pi, offline coding programs, smartphone apps, and all whatnot. The goal is to build the foundation. They see these challenges and say we can't, but we see the same challenges and say we must, and we will. While they talk of problems like teachers shortage, we saw why that will materialize because, as my second speaker has said, currently in status quo, government is already actively training teachers in teacher training programs. But then again, let's assume we concede to the argument of saying we lack teachers. We can use centralized high-quality video lessons from master teachers, broadcast to classrooms nationwide. This will not only provide better learning, but also ensure that we have the required expertise. And I'll get this. They said that adding code as another subject going to overburden the curriculum. But here is it. Currently in status quo, we have subjects such as computer studies and data processing as subjects in Nigerian curriculum. While these are good, we say they are no longer enough given the realities of the digital world nowadays. So we are saying we can exclude 2 weak subjects to put 1 strong subject. That way, we don't overburden the curriculum and we achieve better digital literacy. In our world, we are better equipping our students to be prepared for the future. Then again, panel, they talk of things like inequality and digital divide, but that problem is better solved in our world. How? In opposition's world, the digital divide currently exists, even in status quo, but they do nothing to fix it. How do we fix it on our world? When we make AI and coding compulsory, what does it mean? It means that the government will have to provide a minimum standard for every child in Nigeria to be able to take these lessons, which means that the government has the incentive to improve the standard of living in the country. This means that when the standard of living is improved generally in the country, and when AI and coding is made compulsory, the divide is bridged. Then again, let's take it on a global scale. Nigeria is lagging behind in global advancement. Other countries are in the 4th industrial revolution, and Nigeria contributed nothing throughout the first 4, meaning that we are lagging behind. This means that if we support making AI and coding compulsory, we bridge the digital divide between Nigeria and other countries. Then again, why do we win this debate? And now, my team members and I have been able to show you why we contribute to the nation more economically. When we say things like it will cause economic diversification. And now, get this. Currently in Nigeria, Nigerians' main source of revenue is oil. Nigeria's main source of revenue is oil. They rely solely on oil for revenue, and this is bad because when that source of revenue, this is just like a plane with 1 engine. When that engine fails, the plane crashes. When this source of revenue fails, our economy falls. What AI and coding does is that it allows us to implement thousands of engines so that when one fails, we keep going. It will help us create things like innovators, entrepreneurs. These people will build tech startups, will attract foreign investors, and they will digitalize our economy, making our economy better at a larger scale. But then again, we tell you how we are going to future-proof the workforce. Currently in status quo, Nigeria is lagging behind on the economic workforce in the global space. This is not because we don't have the brains, it's because we don't have the technical know-how to operate AI and tech, what is currently leading in status quo. What AI and coding, what making AI and coding compulsory does is that it ensures that every student in Nigeria has technical know-how to be able to operate AI and technology. We said then that it means that they'll be equipped to be work in the global space in the future. We are preparing them for jobs of the future, not the past. We are trying to ensure that every child has the foundational digital literacy. Then again, they argue things like principle of choice. People don't get this. The people we are talking about in this motion are children, which means that children are minors. They don't actually have the capability to make rational decisions for themselves all the time. So since government know what is better for them, government has the right to protect their future. Government have the right to do what is best for them according to principle of state power. We win because we are not saying it's about every child being a programmer, like they have said. We are saying it's about every child being a problem solver. Maths and English are compulsory in status quo, yet not every child will be a mathematician or an English teacher. Same applies to AI and coding. We're not saying every child should become a programmer. We're saying every child should become a problem solver. It's about every child being able to excel and live in whatever field, be it medicine, be it business, be it marketing, art, history, whatever. Imagine a situation where we can create animations for history and geography. We can do data analysis for biology and economics experiments. This is about making our learning more dynamic, relevant, and practical. We win today's motion because we have shown you why all the assertions on the side do not materialize, but why we ensure better learning and ensure better economics in our country. Thank you.
For arguments, she made use of 6 minutes, 15 seconds. Now, can we have our next speaker from opposition? Your time starts in 5, 4, 2, 1.
Standing on existing protocols. At first, motion sounds attractive and modern, but when we compare it with Nigeria's education system, we find it unrealistic, unequal, and premature. My Bugweke Nancy Kosochukwu, and I stand strongly opposed to the motion that states coding and artificial intelligence should be made compulsory in Nigerian schools. We are going to analyze this in 4 ways. First, the panel, we have the comparative analysis, readiness versus reality. The proposition said that Preposition stated that code and AI would also prepare the student for success and for future jobs. But the truth is, it will only show that the students will be frustrated and the work body will be overloaded on them. In countries like China and USA, we can say yes, they can learn subjects like this because they have stable power supply and they have qualified teachers for this. But comparing Nigeria to countries like this is like comparing a bicycle to an airplane. They both move, but not in the same way. Second, the panel, the impact analysis, the real consequences. How this creates confusion, that is what I will show you. For students to start learning coding and artificial intelligence and to make it a compulsory subject in Nigeria is totally wrong because not every child has access to laptops, internet, and technology at homes. Most teachers are not qualified to teach subjects like this, and which is totally wrong because not everybody will be able to teach this and not everybody will have access to learn it. Hundreds of millions of children living in the rural areas will be left out if this policy is made. Thirdly, the stakeholder analysis. Who really benefits? Panel, now let's ask ourselves, if this policy is made, who really benefits from this policy? The students? No, because think about the hundreds of millions of students living in the rural area who will be left out. The teachers? No, because not all teachers are qualified to teach this subject. The government? No, because a subject like this requires enough preparation, and without preparation, it is going to lead to wasted funds. The parents? No, because not every parent, especially those at the grassroots level, can provide things like laptops and technology. The proposition group said that making AI and coding compulsory will make the government to improve facilities. Not necessarily, because if the government really wanted to improve facilities, it would have been done for existing science and ICT subjects that are already in the curriculum. The proposition also said that introducing it builds innovation and creativity. You cannot go for progress because you build it step by step. Bombarding students with such subjects is going to make their head to not even understand everything. You'll just be frustrated about this. Now let us look at the best and worst case scenarios. For the proposition, their best case scenario is only few schools who have those facilities, and their worst case scenario is the people who will be left out on this. But with the opposition, we propose a gradual and realistic process where AI and coding is not compulsory, but made an optional and also included in club activities. This way, the government will have enough time to build more facilities and to train more qualified teachers. In conclusion, education is meant to be inclusive, fair, and realistic. Let us focus on teaching students on how to read, write, analytical, and practical. Because a weak foundation cannot carry a heavy load, and this is why me and my team should win, because our own system accepts all and not only neglect a few and accept a few. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. He used a total of 4 minutes, 45 seconds. Now this is the round for reply speeches. In this round, every speaker has 2 minutes. Rather, one speaker has 2 minutes. So you have to choose who you want to give your reply speech. And in this round, you're not to add more points, but to summarize what everyone has said. So reply speaker from opposition, your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In conclusion, we are not saying AI and coding is bad for the system. No, but we are saying making it an elective or making it an extracurricular is better because it poses to those who have interest in this. If I were an artist, I do not necessarily need coding and AI in my form, because what I need is creativity, art of expression, not coding and AI. Although we agree in other fields it is needed, but posing it as something that is compulsory and extracurricular can fish out those who are interested in it and those who have skill in it and help them further advance. We are not saying AI and coding is bad, no, but we are saying there are other ways to pose it rather than it being compulsory. Thank you.
Okay. She used a total of 42 seconds. Now, can we have our reply speaker from proposition? Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Panel, in 2 minutes, I'll be showing you why we on team proposition has won today's debate. Panel, team opposition's points can be summarized into 3: lack of infrastructure, lack of teachers, and an overburdened curriculum, which we on team proposition were able to tackle accurately and left no crumbs. Panel, throughout the course of today's debate, team opposition kept mentioning the points which we had already rebutted without further extensions, which doesn't make any sense. Panel, why do we win today's debate? Because we win today's debate because we have showed you why implementation of AI and coding as a subject to Nigerian secondary schools is compulsory and it is very, very important. Simply because we said, 1, it is a solution to youth unemployment. It is morally just, it provides national security to us, and it's economically right for our country. So panel, in essence, today's debate has been won by team proposition. Thank you.
She used a total of 53 seconds. Thank you very much to all the speakers for your thoughtful and respectful presentations. The floor is now closed for deliberations, and I will hand over to the judges shortly to accumulate all the results and tell us who won today's round of preliminaries.
If anyone is ready from the judges, you can do your verdict. Anyone ready? Godman, Silas, Manuel Rebuka, of course, and Mr. Benson Obu. If you are ready, you have your floor and give your. You have to explain your verdict, each and every one of you, before we announce the results. Thank you.
A question that you are supposed to put to your opponent.
All right. Okay, Mr. Benson Obu from Federal Ministry of Education is ready. So he will give his own verdict while others will do the 4-1 compile. So,
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, fellow adjudicators online. Good morning, debate teams from Anambra and Enugu State.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
It's been a very good and keenly contested debate. Both teams have marshaled their points so well, very, very well. And there definitely must be a winner. The observation I made here is most of you will come introduction level, you almost miss most of that area. Like the first speaker introduced herself, second speaker, Anambra, did not introduce herself. Same goes with those of Enugu. And when you are discussing, when you are debating, be mindful of your language. When you say the other people are your co-debater from the opposition side are not making sense. They made sense because before they appear there, So saying that they don't make sense is not the right language to use. Even if you don't agree with what they are opposing or proposing, it should not be they don't make sense by what they are saying. Let us be mindful. Those are part of things that need to be addressed in future when you proceed further. Then also your points, both team marshal their points quite all right. But when you give points, no example, no data, no date, nothing, and you are making reference. When you make reference to some information, you need to give out, tell us how you come about those information. World Bank did so year on that project. UNICEF did this, UNICEF did that. Tell us the year, tell us under what it was captioned. Don't just give an example, no date, nothing to back it up. Then when you are rounding up, or your POI is supposed to be a question that you are supposed to put to your opponent, as much as possible to put them, to kind of put them on their toes. It is not compulsory that you must give a POI if you don't have something to say. So when you are dealing with POI, know what you are going to put to your opponent. I think on that note, it is a very, very hair split differences between the two teams. But from my own side here, I give it to Team Enugu. Thank you.
Okay. So let's hear from other. Who's ready here? Who's ready?
I am.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, please, am I audible, please?
Yeah, very audible.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Good morning, the organizers, good morning, debaters. So I'll be giving I am Adebayo Godman, and I was the judge for this round. So I'll be briefly, but I'll try to be clear, give my adjudication. So let me start by commending both teams. It was a really complex motion, and you guys handled this really well. And it's not easy. Debating in any level is not easy. So you guys, big ups, yeah. So I'm going to start from what I expected everybody to do in this debate from proposition side and from opposition side. For proposition side, what you have expected to have done in this debate is you are supposed to have clearly explained why AI and coding is it's very important in the world we live in. You should have explained. I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying these are the clear roles you should have taken. Yes, you should have explained why making these subjects compulsory is achievable and is very beneficial. I should have explained why this subject and the future of the Nigerian students, how they link. And you did really well as to that. From the opposition too, you should have explained, or your debate should have come from the angle of it is not practical. Implementing this thing is not practical in terms of cost and fairness and all of that. You also show that making it compulsory will do more harm than good. That is what you should have just done. Making it compulsory in Nigerian schools will do way more harm than good. So I'm sorry, I have quite a lot to say, but I'll be really brief. The major clashes in this debate were relevance and future importance. Yes, Team Anambra, I believe that's government side or that's proposition side. They came with the whole thing that Nigeria will be left behind if students are not equipped for a digital future, and that was a really good point. Opposition side, which is Team Enugu, they did not really challenge the importance of AI and coding to Nigeria future. So they just allowed the government case, which is Team Anambra's case, to run. And on that, I'm just talking about the clashes in this debate. On the whole clash of future importance to Nigerian students, Team Anambra wins this because Team Enugu did not say, it is irrelevant to Nigerian students and their future. So in the whole thing of feasibility in Nigeria, yes, opposition did well by saying, it's not feasible in terms of, when I say opposition, I mean Team Enugu, in terms of, there's no lights, there's no building, there's no all of that, yes, and curriculum and all of that. So in feasibility, opposition came really strong. However, government side, which is proposition side, and which is Team Anambra, they responded that with a very solid rebuttal that you don't necessarily have to have the world-class buildings or facilities like just start small, and that was like a killer rebuttal, because all the argument of, oh, you don't have, as long as you can start small, they came the case of, oh, theory is better than nothing. So on that case of feasibility, I still give it to Team Anambra. So the last clash was if it should be compulsory or optional, which opposition ran, that, oh, you could have done debates and all of that. Yes. On that old clash, it was fun, it was nice, but still, still going to give it to the government side, which is Team Anambra, I believe. So generally, from my own end, each side gave like really important, really good points, but eventually, why I give it to Anambra is every point Enugu gives, Anambra came with like really, really solid reporters to challenge everything they say. So even though you came with strong points, Anambra came with like reporters to like finish all these arguments. And as to debate, for debating, more than you giving really good points, you should be able to think and think, oh, what could my opposition or the person speaking against me, like, what could they say that will make my point look really silly or like make my point look somehow? So yeah, so I'll not waste everybody's time. Yeah, that was it. I give it to the government side, Team Anambra. Thank you.
Okay, very good one there. Very good one there. Okay, that's one judge gave it to Team Enugu, one gave it to Team Anambra. So we now have 1-1. So let's wait for the other judge. Who is ready? Silas, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's have you.
So,
thank you.
So first of all, I'll proceed with giving the OA first before I talk about my core. But first of all, I think what happened in emotion in the debates entirely is that both sides, first of all, agreed that tech education is important for Nigeria's future. But where we had like disagreement between the both houses is the fact that about the issue of making it compulsory or not, like the kind of approach that each house like brings to the debate. So Prop tells us that they are making it compulsory for these individuals, and then they give us their justifications for that. And then OP tells us that making it compulsory is not practicable, and then kind of issues of like, they talked about a lot of issues that will likely make it not non-practicable, right? So they gave us their alternative of making it optional for individual. I think that was it. They gave like two models of, first of all, making it optional for this individual, and then secondly is making it like an extracurricular activities. And then what I think that they didn't do right is like making giving us like their mechanism of actions on how these things are going to work better in their own world and then than in the world of prop. But first of all, let me just weigh the both debate, like the both side, based on the clashes I think that existed in the debate. The first clash we had in the debate is about the issue of choice. So first of all, on the prop side, the choice started actually on the up side. They told us about like how individuals have like the right to make choices for themselves, and then these are likely going to be hampered by the prop side policy, and this will likely make like individuals not to like make right choices for themselves. So prop side came with like a credible rebuttals and said first of all that the individual they are talking about is like people in secondary school and primary school, and then most probably they don't even have like right to like the ability to make the right choices for themselves. That is where the government comes in to make those decisions. We talk about like the principle of state power and all that, and I feel that clashes entirely with the issue of choice that all talks about. Then secondly, I think another clash we had in the debate secondly is like the issue of necessity. So in which word do we think that necessity answers better? So prop tells us the issue of like how jobs are going to be taken away from by AI and then in the nearest future, and these things are going to like not be practicable in the side or in the kind of word that OP is advocating for. So that is why they think that making it compulsory is quite justified in a world whereby individuals are likely going to be this AI is likely going to take away their jobs in those like features. So at the end of the day, this is like a futuristic approach of like their own debate, and then I felt that was really nice on their own end, but I didn't like get any response from the upside with regards to like that necessity coming from them. Then secondly, they told us about the issue of like the issue of massive unemployment and how this like their own approach is kind of be like an implementation of AI is a solution to like massive unemployment in Nigeria and all of that. Then they also talked about like the it's a way of democratizing like digital access for individuals. So the way the both world, in a world whereby these things are not made compulsory, governments don't even have the incentive to make like digital access more practicable, because UP tells us like digital access is quite low, and then they told us like in which world are we better able to have like a digital access? Is a world whereby we make this robotics and AI compulsory for individuals. That means the government have like better incentive to make this digital access possible. And then thirdly, they talked about like the issue of national security requires like compulsory implementation. But where I had issues with them is like this issue of like the national security and the warfare, the 21st century warfare. Why I had issue with that is that they were not able to bring it down to Nigeria, because if you're talking about the issue of warfare, how will that necessarily happen in Nigeria? Like I was waiting for this how from them, but I wasn't able to get that. But that doesn't delegitimize the efficiency of their arguments. And then lastly, the issue of accessibility was another clash we had in the debate. So the both side, I think all talks about like how persons in the rural community are not going to be beneficial of like these facilities that Prop is advocating for. Then Prop tell them that in which world are we able to give this individual those facilities and those equipment that opposition is advocating for? Is in a world whereby we have like a better, or make this AI compulsory for this individual. So at the end of the day, we see like governments are having like incentive, just like what I mentioned earlier. So I think like the three clashes we had in the debate was the issue of choice, and then secondly is issue of necessity, and then the last one is the issue of access. And one particular team won in those three clashes, and that was Team Anambra.
Team Anambra won the round from Sarah. So we heard from another speaker. Emmanuel, are you ready? Emmanuel. Emmanuel, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so now we have one judge gave it to Team Enugu and two gave it to Team Anambra. So let's hear from Emmanuel Rebuka. All right. That means if Emmanuel Rebuka
okay, so I'm very audible.
Hello? Okay, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yeah, very well.
All right. So, okay, so I like the premise of this debate where you were like, both teams were trying to combat the idea of whether this is something that's supposed to be compulsory or not. So there's that form of necessity, which is actually good. I do commend both teams in that area because everybody was able to bring out their points splendidly. But at the end of the day, we still have to have one winner. So I'm just going to go in deep into this before I now say who actually won the debate. So over the course of the debate, there were so many things that were being brought up. For example, on the proposition bench, with the government bench, they brought up the idea. Not only they brought up the idea that this is something that needs to happen. This is something that needs to be made compulsory.
Hold on. Please, I want to say it now so that to be fair, we have 4 judges. 4. So in case, if whatever Emmanuel says, if Emmanuel give it to Team Enugu, that means it's going to be a 2-2 tie vote. That means we now look whether we're going to go for a run or see how we can go about it. But if Emmanuel gave it to Team Anambra, that means it's 3-1. That means the judgment is decided. So I want to make it clear so that you know that this is the final judgment. Thank you.
All right. So on that basis, when you're talking about what government was essentially bringing to the argument, but they were able to give a perfect framing of what making something a compulsory subject is. The characterization they gave was that if you're going to make something a compulsory subject, that means that this stuff is already a necessity and it's already in demand. That's why it's going to be made. So they were able to come and say that, okay, due to the fact that the world is developing and AI has become a very, very important thing within the society, government has seen it fit to be able to make this thing a compulsory subject so that it can essentially help in the development of students. They now also came with the ideology that this AI is not just going to be something that is not just going to be programming, because everybody's not going to be a programmer. This AI is also going to help students in other fields such as arts, such as in like arts and programming, such as in medical programming, so on and so forth. So they're already giving you a basis of, okay, although this
this thing is going to be made compulsory, it's going to be made compulsory in a way that it's going to assist everybody. So there's no that exclusion. So from opposition, and that was from the first speaker. So from the opposition, from the opposition team, when they came in, there was one thing they actually made a statement, but because they did not actually give proper extension on it, I did not credit them with that, which was they were trying to say that okay, AI is an essential thing, but making it compulsory is the problem. So they are now trying to insinuate that AI learning technology already exists in their world. In the world they're trying to paint, it already exists. But the thing is that, it already exists. So it's an important facet, but making it compulsory is now the problem. But they were not able to extend on the prior argument, so I did not credit them with that. So they also now came in and I said that, okay, due to the fact that the government is already a competent structure on its own, how do you now expect them to now make this thing compulsory all around the world? Because at the end of the day, the only way you're going to see AI, the only places where you're going to see AI being a compulsory subject is places that can actually handle it, maybe in Lagos or maybe in Abuja or so on and so forth. And they now give the example of, imagine you're going to a village and in the village school it's only one computer for 50 students. How do you now expect these people to now treat AI? But government already now came and now they now rebutted that point, which was actually very and say that they now came and say that it is better for them to start the program and the infrastructure develop with it rather than you to not start at all and now wait for everything, because the argument was now that you're already saying that the government is already not going to do anything. So it's better for you to just start as it is and just let everything develop rather than not start at all and wait for everything to not develop at once. Because at the end of the day, Nigeria is being left out. Nigeria is being left out as this AI is progressing, and we've already been left out to the point that we're already going behind in the fourth industrial revolution, and we have not contributed anything. So they're already stating on the fact that because this thing is so important, it needs to be made compulsory as ASAP as possible so that we can join the wave of development. And the thing is that government over the course of the debate has already been winning all the clashes that has already been going on. Not only that, they've also rebutted most of the points that opposition brought, because at the end of the day, for the second and third speaker for opposition, all they did was they came and repeated the same points that the first speaker gave, and they did not even give proper extension on it. So that was already a win on opposition a win on government's bench. Another thing that they also gave was on the basis of this is that they used the analogy of English is a compulsory subject, but not everybody wants to be an English teacher. So even if you do make this compulsory, not everybody is going to follow in the basis of oh, everybody wants to do tech and everybody wants to do AI, because you're still going to have that leniency to do whatever you want. It's just for you to have the knowledge so that you can compete in the market. Because at the end of the day, they brought up the idea that unemployment is already skyrocketing, and by the time that is 2030, people are going to be relying more on digital skills rather than man-made labor. So it's better for you to just have this knowledge, even if you're not going to use it, but have this knowledge in the profession. And opposition did not actually give any form of rebuttal to that. Neither did they even try and overturn the argument, because we're mostly focusing on the problem of the second and third speaker were mostly focusing on the problem of infrastructure, that the infrastructure is bad, and it was a repetition of basically that. While proposition was coming out, they were giving more argument and more basis and more analysis to basically what everything. So with that in mind, I would give Team Anambra proposition the win.
Team Anambra, calm down now. We've not announced the result. You're clapping your hands. We've not announced the result. So okay, so what it means that what one judge gave it to Team Enugu, while 3 judges gave it to Team Anambra. That means it's a split decision. That means what it means that what Team Anambra have won this round, and what that means that what Team Anambra have qualified for nationals because they have won their 2 debates, so they are going for nationals, joining other teams that have qualified for nationals. So Team Enugu will look at your result and see if you are going to be part of the best loser by the end of today's debate. But Team Anambra have qualified for nationals. I want to congratulate Team Anambra for a job well done. I also congratulate Enugu. Enugu did a very good job, you know. So and I want to wish them well and hope they will go as best loser by the time we are done with today's debate. Thank you very much. So the next debate we have now is
Hello, sir.
Team FCT and the team Play 2. So we'll start your debate in the next 5 minutes.